I'm thinking something like... Back ribs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Do you eat at Chili's?
I haven't in a long time.
Okay, good. Because I would be concerned for your well-being. If you're like all the time, I'd be like, oh no.
No, it's been years.
Okay.
Probably 10 years or more.
People love it.
They do.
Trash people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my God, here we go.
She said it, not me.
Remember she said the Michigan thing.
I was getting you back for that.
This was one of my favorite episodes that we've had.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I like the way you guys talk together, you and AJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
too.
you really connected a lot on ADHD.
Mm-hmm. And and autism. He has those things that show up really hard, and he's got trauma.
Yeah, right.
Showing up together, and it's there's just a lot of information that I see on my side of things of people wondering if they are autistic because they can't process things, and while that's a part of it, so is trauma. And so we got to talk how all those things intermingle, and he got to give some real examples of like how that looks for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all were, and I loved how when y'all were talking about ADHD, you were like, yeah, and then it feels like this and this. This is really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciated him being so just authentic and sharing his experience with it. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
I think so too. And we got some tears.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about me for a second. I was like,
You're like, nuh-uh, not me.
There's nothing wrong with crying.
You guys are really going to love this. A lot of laughs, a lot of genuine moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Enjoy AJ Wilkerson. Yeah. We also
It's exactly like having a golden retriever on the podcast. Wiggling everywhere. Stick my tail in a light socket.
How high would you like it?
Oh, that's probably perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can tilt
I
it
can
too.
Yeah. All the like the metal sounds and everything. It's like it's like ASMR of like an EDM concert.
That sounds terrible.
Oh yes, just dead mouse chopped and screwed.
No.
Slow down, Texas edition.
I'm gonna cry. Like that sounds so bad.
I have a doctor's note. I apologize.
AJ, hi, you wonderful human.
Hello.
I'm so excited. AJ, this is my friend and co-host Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
meet
So
you.
nice to meet you.
Are you looking here to shake my hand?
Yes.
I saw you start to look.
Well, dude, the golden retriever was trying to shake my hand as soon as I got in, and I was like, "This is a handshaking household." So
It actually is.
Is it?
I'm from Alabama. My dad taught a good handshake.
Okay, hell
Yeah.
yeah. Wait, where are you from?
Florida.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What part?
The nightmare part. I'm not trying to sound like this. I've just lost my voice from like the last week on the road.
Oh,
so I sound like I'm reading. I sound like I'm reading the scary parts of the books. Like I'm narrating Stephen King novels over here.
What part of Florida?
So north central Florida, so between like Gainesville and like Cedar Key on the Gulf Coast, just
Okay,
right there
hell
in the
yeah.
middle.
Did
Yeah.
you like being here?
I like being here. I may.
You're gonna leave, aren't you? Just gonna leave. You're gonna leave.
Austin was so much fun.
Did you say Austin?
Yeah.
It's the second. Wait, wasn't there another person that moved there right after they were on the podcast?
Corey Knox.
Corey. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see him while you were out there?
I didn't see Corey while I was there. I saw a bunch of like the Florida guys and stuff that I had come up with.
They live out there?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's...
Well, like Cam Patterson is like a regular on Kill Tony and Dorga at the Mothership. And now there's like 5 other Florida comics that like all came up with us when we were all in Orlando together. They're all like Mothership guys. There's like Cam Patterson and Jay Legend and Gordon Dixon and then Cam Bertrand. I don't know if you've seen him from like Dry Bar.
Okay.
Dry Bar and like AGT. We also came up together. He was like one of my first like comedy OGs that would like give me advice and be, stuff like that. And he's in Austin now as well, and
It was pulling to you.
yeah,
You're like, all my people are here.
All my people are here. I got to the mothership, and a door guy who wasn't one of the Florida comics, just another door guy I'd never met or anything before. I first got to the building, and they have like all the people lined up for like coming in for Kill Tony, and all of like the comics that are waiting to find out if they got drawn for open mics. And a door guy just like grabbed me out of the crowd, like pulled me up against the wall, and was like, "Sorry, I gotta stay on the mic." But he grabbed me, and he was like, "We've been waiting for you here, brother." And then like just snuck me out of everybody. He's like, "You hide out over here." Yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool.
You felt welcome and like a big deal.
Not even like a big deal, just like connected, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just like like that, it warmed up that like inner need for tribalism that we all have. It's like, ooh, my tribe. I found them.
Oh, I love that.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's like the same feeling as like if you're like an American traveling abroad and you find other Americans. You're just like, oh, we're on vacation together now. You know?
It's so true.
That's so true. Yeah. That's so wonderful. I think you'd do great anywhere, but that's fucking awesome. That's a great move.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a while. I'll still be around for quite a while.
Okay.
I've got some time, but yeah, I think after this week in Texas,
You're like, ooh,
I think so.
beautiful.
Yeah, when you experience somewhere that feels like home, you can't ignore it.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, go ahead, please.
I was going to ask you if Nashville felt like that for you.
I feel at home here. Okay. Yeah. I feel like I'm not here a lot enough to be like, these are my people.
Yeah.
But the people who are my people, I take them on the road with me.
Exactly. That's kind of what was my thought process. Like, since I moved here, I haven't like been here enough to be like to feel like fully like embedded.
Yes.
You know, I'm gone a lot, and the people that I do know here, the people I'm like taking on the road with me.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that much harder to do the same thing there. And at least there, like when the times when I am home, I have the people that I've already like connected with from like my home scene when we were all just like grinding it out in one place. And so
Yes.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it just feels nice. It feels nice to have people.
Oh, you're an angel.
You're an angel. You're one of my favorite people of all time ever.
That's how I feel about you. No, really, I think, hold that. I just want to say this. I think you are such a perfect person to have on this podcast because of your content and because there are very few men and male comedians at that point that can be so close to their emotions. Like when we were crying in the green room together.
I've been crying all week this week. I'm a big time crier.
Oh,
You said cry, and my eyes are starting to water a little. Oh,
are you on mushrooms?
no, not today.
But can you, I don't know if Melanie has seen your show ever.
I friended you on Facebook this afternoon. Not Facebook.
I was like, do you still use
Instagram.
This is like a blind date podcast. This is like,
On Instagram. So I think I watched just a little bit and then a call came in. I had to, so I don't, and this is totally blind. I kind of prefer it that way. So I just meet you as a person.
No, yeah,
And
that-
hear your story.
I'd much rather be a person.
I mean, you know what I mean.
No, I do. I do know what you mean. It's better to like
No expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just get to have a conversation with. That's actually like those are my favorites. Like when I have like random conversations with people who have no idea who I am, and then somebody afterwards will be like, "Hey, do you know who that was?"
That's typically, how I meet people doing the work I do. It's like you don't know anything and you just get to start from ground zero, and it's whatever you want.
Which is normally such a bad thing to start from, dude. You normally never want to start from ground zero. Dude, that means something horrible happened. But that would make sense in therapy. Like
Something has.
something horrible has happened.
Well, it's just it's a clean slate. It's a fun way to learn about somebody.
Oh my gosh, no, absolutely.
Can you talk about what the topics you talk about on stage?
Oh, yeah. I have autism, ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed until well into adulthood. Because I basically just stuffed it all down and pretended to be regular for as long as possible. And then that doesn't work. Yeah. Turns out that's putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound is what that is. No, so autism, ADHD, severe anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, couple phobias, like I have a fear of public speaking, and then
You do?
oh yeah,
Okay, we're gonna have a fun time talking about all this.
This is secret time. Seventh grade, 6th or 7th grade. We were doing like a talent show at our middle school, and a bunch of friends were like, "No, you have to do something for the talent show. You have to do something for the talent show." And I auditioned, ran off stage like 26 seconds into my audition because I had started to pee my pants.
Shit.
Yeah, so I was just like, yeah, here it comes. I'm out, dude. Yeah.
Did you get in to the talent show?
No.
Oh, man.
I got out of that school.
Damn.
Not really, but yeah, no, I didn't go. I like left, like assumed everyone saw me pee my pants, and then didn't go back to school for like 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll start back over on Monday. We'll just.
And that was from the peeing the pants was from the fear.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, yeah, you have to audition. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I assumed auditions was going to be like 3 or 4 people in like a small room,
Right.
you know? And then auditions was like 3 or 4 people in the cafeteria with like 18 tables full of people behind them.
Of kids?
Yeah. Kids that were like just hanging out after
Your
school.
peers.
Yeah.
No,
with
no.
nothing to do. Exactly. So it's
No.
like, oh, room full of people, and I was not mentally prepared for this
Yeah.
at all.
Talk about being overstimulated.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Awful.
What did why were your friends like, you have to try out? Like, what were you gonna do?
What was I gonna do? I was gonna do a song, but it was like a funny song.
So
I
you
was
were
gonna-
funny around your friends, and like that's why they were like,
Oh yeah, my like growing up, like my parents and like my siblings and stuff. Like I'd like be in my room just for hours. I would like I could hyper focus, so I'd just be like reading in a corner, and people would be like, "Where is AJ?"
oh.
For hours. They'd be like, "I haven't seen him, but like we know he's here." Yeah, and then eventually I'd just like pop my head out to get a drink or like a snack or food or something. I'd be like, "Hey, where you been?" But I was reading. I was like under a bed in like a random corner with like a flashlight and a book, just looking for some privacy and some peace and quiet.
Hell yeah. Were you an only kid?
No, I'm the oldest of 3, but then when I was around 6 or 7, my parents started doing foster care. So over the course of a decade, my parents fostered 44 kids. Wow. On top of the 3 of the others of us.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's so you would like have a sister or brother and then they would just be gone?
Yes. We had foster kids that like we got a lot of like short-term or temporary placements. So it was like kids who like the courts didn't fully take them away from their parents, but it was like, okay, like
Give
they
them
have to
time for their parents to get their shit together.
exactly. So we got a lot of like the kids that were getting like supervised visitations and things like that.
wow.
Like, yeah, we got a lot of kids who like after like traumatic events while like the court was still deciding what was going to happen with them, things like that. So,
How did that affect you, you think, growing up?
so I've started working on like some bits and stuff about this and like writing material about it. But I was talking about like around the time my parents started doing foster care was right around the time I was starting to realize like I wasn't maybe like the other kids, like something was a little different, you know? And we had just gotten like, we lived way out in like digga down territory, you know? So not really safe, like cable, not really good. Like we either had to like go into town to like rent a movie or something or
Yeah.
whatever was on like the 3 channels you could get with the antenna. And then we got satellite television. That was a big deal. But satellite television like after a certain period of like at night, it would start running all those like infomercials and things like that. And do you remember the factory recall commercials for like electronics and like cars and stuff like
Vaguely.
that? Like, oh, there's a factory recall on like Firestone tires, and factory recall on like the brakes on Toyotas, and all like all of these different kind of things. Like, oh, this toaster's gonna burn your house down. Like,
They're playing that at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's like we shipped out 8,000 units that have a thing in them that'll just burn your house down. So
Hope
check
you
your
see
serial
this.
numbers. If you have this model number, mail it back in. We'll send you a new one that's not a fire starter, you know? So I remember, like, right around the time I started realizing I might be different than other kids, I started seeing those commercials. And I was like, oh, I have, like, a factory defect, right? So, like, if I have a defect and my parents find out, I'm going to get, like, recalled. I'm going to get replaced with another kid.
You were thinking this then?
I was thinking this then. And then right around that time, my parents signed up for trial subscriptions to other kids.
Holy shit.
So I was like, we just gotta bury this, dude. We just gotta push this down where nobody will ever find it. You know?
That's sad.
I mean, yes. I mean, pressure make diamonds. Oh, no, it's no.
You're good at making jokes about hard stuff.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
I
so
know.
true. So true.
No, it was like so around that time when I started having like panic attacks.
Yeah.
But my brother had asthma, so when I started having panic attacks, I thought they were asthma attacks. So I was
Well,
like,
yeah, you
oh,
can't
this
breathe.
is just, yeah. And we weren't like the most well-off family, you know. Like when we were little. My brother was born deaf and had like tubes in his ears. And so he had like a speech impediment, lisps kind of situation. And so when they started him in speech therapy, there's this weird thing that happened when we were kids, because I'm autistic and we like mirror people. So the way you talk to us is how we talk to you.
Right.
So I would mirror my brother's speech impediment to the point that I developed the speech impediment. And my parents basically sat me down and were like, we can't afford 2 scholarships for speech therapy. So yeah, you're going on the wait list, you know? So when I started having tiny little panic attacks as a child, and my brother had asthma, and so I was like, oh, I have asthma. He has asthma. My parents can't afford for us to both have asthma. So
Damn.
I'll just wait it out, you know? Because there was always like those appointments with my brother where the doctor would be like, oh, well, maybe he'll like grow out of it. So I was like, I'll just keep it a secret until I grow out of it, you know?
Damn. A lot of secrets.
Never grew out of it. Yeah. I think it's like an older child thing. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
being like the quote unquote oldest, like you feel like there's that
Lead
thing
of
where
the
you,
family.
where
Yeah.
you kind of turn into a parent, kind of. So I think it's a lot of that. And also like very like strong male role models, but like not emotional role models, if that makes sense. It's like we get up, we go to work, we take care of everybody, like we do exactly what we're supposed to do, but we don't talk about how we're
The
feeling.
masculine
Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And if we do talk about how we're feeling, that's what we're talking about. It's don't matter how you feel, you got to take care of your family, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so, my problems aren't taking care of the family, so I'll just deal with them myself. And then that way I'm taking care of the family. You know?
Sounds like it's just essentially you just learn to just shove everything down, like just to ignore everything about you.
That is exactly what
Yeah.
autism is. Yeah. I mean, not really. That's not what autism is. That's just like how we have to deal with it in society.
Yeah. Will you speak a little bit, because in the therapy space right now, there's so many people asking, do you think I'm autistic? And because there's just a lot of symptoms around autism, ADHD, trauma, and everything, because it just blends with so many things. And so people are, because if they can't access the way they feel or something, they start questioning.
Yeah.
And so, and getting diagnosed as an adult is very different too.
Yes.
and a whole experience in itself with, and someone, can you speak to what that did for you as an adult getting that diagnosis?
Yes. So it's when I actually got diagnosed, it just everything kind of started to make sense slowly, because it was like, well, that explains, because what I've noticed is now, like, autism is the shortcut diagnosis, if that makes sense. It's
Same way.
I don't want to dig deeper and figure out like the layers behind everything that's going on with me. So if I just call it autism, I don't have to do the work.
Okay.
Right? But it took me 3 years, major university and the VA hospital to get a diagnosis. Like I got studied by the government and an SEC school. Do you know what I mean? It took some work.
Wow.
And then still after that, they were still like, there's still other things going on. So like, we're not saying it's just this.
Yeah.
We're starting with like, we already had these 3 things, and then we're starting there, and then now we're adding this, and then we're going to, and kind of expanding into, it's like nesting dolls. Because with autism and with a lot of mental health things and trauma related things, it's comorbidities. Right? Like once you have one, it makes it easier to easier to unlock the others, if that makes sense. It's like a negative skill tree in video games or something. Do you know what I mean? You've unlocked a detriment. Do you know what in a sense? But
Is that how it felt when you were getting all those what do you call them, like diagnosis? Were you like, God?
It felt like that in the beginning. It felt like that up until the autism diagnosis. Because then it was like, okay, now with that, like all of these other things make sense, because now it's not adding anymore. It's branches from the same tree. Now it's not, I don't
all the
have,
puzzle pieces.
right.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't actually have 8 things wrong with me. I have one thing that's causing and these disruptions and these other things. And so that helps in the sense of like, kind of, what is the old expression about, like, if you judge a fish based on its ability to climb a tree? I stopped trying to climb trees.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it turns out I'm a swimmer. You know?
That's I like that metaphor.
Yeah. So it helped in that sense. But no, because of comorbidities and things like that, because of the way things stack up, it's like a casserole. Do you know what I mean? How many times can you take a bite of a casserole and be like, no, this is all cheese? Do you know what I mean? There's more than one thing mixed up in every little part of it. So it's like, it's everyone tries to think of mental health linearly, but it's not linear. It's a kaleidoscope. And if you turn one part of it, that's going to change the way that, like, the colors in the other parts.
There's so many different ways to experience any of the things you named. Like, there's just so many, like, from one person to the next, it's going to look and be experienced different. And I've had clients who've gotten the diagnosis as an adult, and it has felt helpful to them in understanding themselves. And then some, they thought it was going to be helpful, and then it just, like, they felt like they didn't know who they were.
And that is where it, like, that what we were talking about, doing the work, comes into play. Because if you're just seeking the label because you want the label, because it's, oh, I can just like, oh, I don't want to do this because I'm this, right? Then there's no, like, you're using it for external purposes, but you're not gaining any internal purpose with that. Do you know what I mean? And that's like that, like where it gets weird, right?
Well, there's, I think, an aspect, like, because if clients will come and ask me, do you think this is something going on with me? And I'm more like, I don't know. What do you think it is? Like, I don't know if that's ever crossed my mind, us interacting. But then when they're like, should I go get tested? And I'm like, let's talk about what testing might do for you, if that's going to feel helpful. Because you're not going to be different as a person, but you might experience yourself differently once you get that label. And it's like, how do you think that's going to help? Or what's that going to do for how you're experiencing yourself?
And I think that's one of the big things. I feel like so how I got diagnosed was the University of Florida Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. The VA hospital reached out to them and were like, hey, we're trying to find out about getting an adult either diagnosed or ruling out a diagnosis. And so they set everything up, and I went in for like a consultation, which was basically like a 4-hour observation appointment. So it's like 4 hours. You have to bring a parent or a sibling with you. You have to fill out a bunch of questionnaires. Your parent or your sibling has to fill out a bunch of questionnaires, like about your childhood and about a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then when you're actually sitting in with like a doctor and therapist, like they're talking to you and asking you questions, and like maybe like 5 minutes into this appointment, the doctor like stopped me and he's like, so I want to let you know you're definitely on the spectrum. And he started he was basically like the like their psychological like observational testing, like the way he explained it to me, that he was like, where are you from originally? And I was like, oh, I'm like Florida. And he's like, oh, I'm from upstate New York. What part of Florida are you from? And I was like, Gainesville, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, so I know you're on the spectrum because I asked you like all of these, they're like basically like leading questions. They're like conversational bridges, right? It's like, oh, what part of Florida are you from? That's your opportunity to like expand, like to create social dialogue. And I was basically just one word answering, shutting down any opportunity for like, and he's like, you've done that 18 straight times.
I see that as a skill, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah. So like stuff like that. He's like, so it's just this very like uncomfortable observation. And then from there, then they referred me to like a psychologist, like another office. And then they started me with like in like therapy, actual like talk therapy kind of stuff like that. And then it was still another month before they would actually give me a formal diagnosis.
Wow.
Because they're like, we want to observe and take in as much of you and your personality and your mannerisms as possible, because we'd rather play safe than just guess.
That's impressive.
Right. And they're so at the end of that, they're like, so you are definitely autistic. You definitely have like the anxiety and depressive disorders that you had before we were looking into autism. And then that's when she was like, there's something else going on. And that's when they were trying to, they were looking at like if I possibly had like Tourette's or MS, like several different things. And that's when they were like, after 3 more years, they were like, it's ADHD.
Is that with your hands? Is that what's going on with your hands?
It's stimming is related to both. It's one of the overlapping things, but stimming from like social interactions. Anytime I'm having to like, other than like basic 1-word answers and things like that, anytime I'm having to engage like the language centers of my brain, there's like a severe anxiety and like phobia attached to that.
Will you just name some other ways that stimming happens?
I mean, leg bouncing, rocking, tapping, humming, echolalia, which is like the repeating of like sounds or phrases or things like that. So like, whistles, hums, when you ever see like kids and or adults that like will just quote movie references, and it's like, oh, they actually don't talk. They're not actually in the conversation. They're just speaking in movie quotes, like Bumblebee from Transformers.
That's funny.
It's like, oh, classic autism. Hello. You have entered the chat.
Okay, so will you speak more to how stimming helps you, what it's responding? You said kind of when you're using, because there's I rock back and forth, but it's a calming thing for my nervous system. Like no matter
Yes.
where I'm doing or what, whether I'm sitting, standing in line, rocking, that doesn't necessarily mean that, right? And so, can you just speak a little bit to how stimming?
So there's
helps you.
there's all different kinds of stems. Like we all attach them to different things. So
Right.
there's like happy stems, anxious stems, like angry stems, sad stems. Like, if you ever see, and here's what's great is like they're like subtle ways that like Hollywood and like media and stuff will portray it without you realizing it. Like when you're watching a movie and they like somebody's supposed to be sad, when they'll grab their shoulders and rub their arms like they're cold, that's a pretty well known like autism stem for people who are like sad or anxious. Is so like things like that. It's basically anything. There's always this weird because people are like, oh, stimming is an autism behavior, but all autism behaviors are human behaviors. They're just amplified human behaviors.
It almost
If
feels
you
like it's,
Oh,
go-
no.
keep going.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you like crank it up to 11, you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna, like you're gonna hear more of like the whine in the guitar.
Yeah.
And that's all. It's that just like, oh, it's so amplified.
Yeah. It seems like a somatic way, or it doesn't necessarily have to be somatic, but it feels like a way of expressing emotions that's different.
It exactly
like a
is.
physical
It
way.
exactly is
Yeah.
a way of expressing emotions, because in autism, it's a social developmental disorder, but that the main part of that social developmental disorder is in communication, right? So there's a lot of autistic people who are nonverbal. Then you have autistic people like me who have autism and ADHD, and I have a hyperactive language center in my brain. My brain thinks too many words at one time, and then I get fucking analysis paralysis trying to pick the right ones.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, if I pick one wrong word, my whole family's gonna die. You know, it's that you have that level of anxiety, or like on stage specifically with like the public speaking and just being anxious of everyone looking at me. It's like that caveman tribal part of my brain that's like, oh, the tribe is gonna reject you.
Right.
You're gonna be, you're gonna get exiled or pitchforked. You know?
Yeah.
And especially in comedy clubs, I hate with a passion. I hate those tiny little tea lights, like the little candles and tea lights that they put on tables in comedy clubs. I hate with the heat of a million of them. Because my brain, every time those little tea lights, even the electric ones, like I know there's not real fire, but my brain goes, those are for the torches later, you know?
Okay, how did you go from peeing yourself out of an audition to selling out clubs across the country where you talk in front of people for an hour?
Therapy and marijuana. No, when I started working with that therapist, it had been like maybe like 6 weeks into like regular therapy. And
This was after you got diagnosed?
after I got diagnosed, after the regular therapy, and maybe 6 weeks into therapy after my medical marijuana card. And I don't remember how it came up, but at the time I wanted to create my own like animated cartoon series, like adult animated series. And I was talking about it in one of our therapy sessions, and she was like, so you have all of these creative ideas, like every session you're like there's something creative, some like passion project or something that you're wanting to do or working on. And she's like, but for this like cartoon, right, you have like all of this creative energy in your brain, but you've put like, you're trying to teach yourself how to storyboard and script write and edit and animate and all of these. So you've put all of these additional hurdles between you and the thing your brain actually needs, which is an outlet for all of the creativity.
Yeah.
Like you have nowhere to put all of this stuff that you've backed up onto the hard drive.
Yeah.
And so now your applications won't open and work right. You know?
Right.
And so she's like, you need an outlet for that. And so she basically dared me to, she's like, the stuff, that thing that you were talking about for the cartoon, what if you just like, cause we were talking about how like that idea had stemmed from like something for like with my family. And she's like, why don't you just take the actual story from your family and just create that, like turn that into the like jokes and just do it, like go to an open mic and just try it. And I was like, I can't do that, you know, because of the social anxiety.
Right.
And then like I got to thinking about it and I was like, well, that was before I was in therapy and before I knew what was going on with my brain and before I had marijuana. And then the next week I just got insanely like too high to regret it. Do you know what I mean? Like too high to talk myself out of it. Do you know what I mean? Like because I don't know if you have like that. Do you have like the narrator in like your inner narrator? Like
1000%.
I got too high. Like I got him too high to talk me out of it. Basically,
We should
'Cause I
do
was like,
this,
we're
man.
doing it, and he's like, yeah.
That's the power of psychedelics. Turns those parts down.
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk psychedelics,
We can definitely talk psychedelics.
I'm fascinated with psychedelics because after I got diagnosed and after like I don't know, just at a certain point, with all of like the research and stuff that had been done into it, I decided to try it, and I love them. Maybe like quarterly I'll do like mushrooms or some sort of like psychedelic. Just it feels like it's like an amazing reset. Like kind of like what we were just talking about, like defragging the hard drive, but emotionally.
Yeah.
Like just like anxiety and tension and things. Like it just helps you, like, I don't know, helps me realize like things that I'm holding on to. And it's like, oh, you can,
Yes.
it's like cleaning out a purse, but
Yeah.
inside you.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just emptying out your backpack before, like, oh, let me repack this before first day of school. You know?
Yeah. How do you like to do them? Like by yourself?
I've done them both. It just depends. Like I just did mushrooms recently with another comedian and friend of mine, Sydney.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we had like this. We watched a movie and then we just talked for like hours about like the podcast we do together and like just comedy and like how it's like we randomly met through comedy and became like best friends and like. You see like all those connections and I don't know, it just helps you kind of like follow those thread backs and be like, oh, you're more connected to things than you think and you're not as isolated as you might feel like you are. And
Mushrooms are good for that.
Yeah.
You're connected to
well,
everything.
also I feel like they're really good for giving you like a direct line to that like inner voice, like that narrator kind of thing.
So true.
Like the first time I did psychedelics, it literally felt like I had a conversation with like that inner part of me where it was like, hey, I kind of need you to help wrangle the other one in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God. So true.
Yeah. I feel like a single parent out here. Help me, dude.
So true.
Yeah, I love that.
How was, I want to ask, so your therapist was like, go do stand up. How was the first time doing it? What did you talk about? Did you talk about what you do now?
Not a lot. No, it was more just like random, just little fun thoughts and like thing. I'm very much like, I enjoy like, absurdism and like wordplay jokes and things. So it's a lot of just that. And, but then there were things that like weren't jokes that I'd written down where I would just like say something randomly because I was like, oh, I ended this joke and I don't know how to get to the next thing. So then I would just say something randomly and that would get a laugh. And I was like, maybe I'm better at this than I thought
Yeah.
And then like maybe 3 weeks into doing open mics, like a comic pulled me aside and was like, hey, we have like a writers group I think you'd be really fun at. Like,
Aww.
and so yeah, then I just joined this like other, like this basically like a workshop for comics. It was like run by an old road comic who just loved comedy.
Yeah.
So we'd all get together like on Sundays in like the showcase room. You could like actually go up on stage and like run new bits with just comics and get like tags and feedback and like
a fun open mic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Instead of just like a horrible, like, oh, we're all in like, you know, in Cincinnati under the chili factory. And there's 86 people on the list and we're all like, we would all murder the 85 people in front of us to go next right now. Instead of that,
We're having a good time.
yeah, you just get a group of like-minded individuals.
I'm interested when you said like your brain, when you're like, there's so many words going on and you have this anxiety of like, oh, I'll pick the right one. Does that still happen to you a lot on stage? And if it does, how do you navigate that during a show?
It doesn't. Okay, that's what I think. That's like the thing that I love about comedy, and I think the thing that like over time I get like more and more confident. Like the anxiety part of it will never go away, but it's like there's a difference between anxiety and fear, if that makes sense. Like I can be anxious, but I'm not. I might like. I don't know that I'll ever not be anxious, but I'm not afraid anymore.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so
Now I'm gonna cry. Fuck.
Go for it. Do it.
The first time I've ever said that out loud, I was like, "Oh, I think a core memory unlocked. I'm not afraid no more."
Yeah, that's a big statement.
I'm so happy for you right now.
She's like, "We made him cry. This is fucking awesome."
I'm happy for you.
No, that's a big statement. That's like that hit me in my core, dude.
Yeah, no, like I'm afraid in like regular social interactions. Do you know what I mean? Like, like when you get your food at a restaurant and someone's like, "Enjoy your meal," and you're like, "Hey, you too."
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and drown myself.
Or you tell the flight attendant saying have a good flight at the gate and they're staying and you're like, "You too."
Damn it.
Oh yeah, you ever tell a flight attendant, "Hey, get home safe"?
And she's like, that was weird. They're gonna follow me home for sure.
Well, this was like a good. I wanted to ask this question earlier of what has helped you learn to. It seems like feeling your emotions, like naming them and feeling them, you learned to shove that down a little bit more when you were younger, and then now it seems like they're more readily available for you.
Yes, it was that going back to like getting diagnosed and like learning these things about myself. It was kind of getting diagnosed for me was like actually getting like the little manufacturer's booklet that came with the product. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I got different settings. You know, so it definitely helped. Like, and that's what I explained to my therapist before. I was like, it's not that I couldn't feel emotions. A lot of autistic people get like called like robots or, you know, accused of being robotic or saying like they're emotionless. And it's not that we're emotionless. It's there's the processing gap, right? Like for most people, when they're having a conversation, they're having that conversation in real time. And even if they're not, even if they're distracted or something like that, like their brain can email them the cliff notes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, hey, you weren't paying like super good attention, but here's the highlights, right? My brain, because of ADHD, is taking in too much information. I'm taking in details that do not matter at all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the bottom of the chair tag over there is FC52.
What? Really?
That could be useful later.
It could be useful later.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
So like shit like that, but it's not always like readily available. But my brain is trying to process all of it
Yeah.
at once, all of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like
What helps it slow down? Sorry, finish your thought.
Oh, no. It goes back and forth. Sometimes it processes and it's there immediately.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like, and it's how do we get out of this? Or we got to reboot the computer and reopen the program again? Or,
What's resonate? Like, I've only had a few panic attacks, but it's my thoughts go so fast I can't even grab one quick enough. I don't know where to stop the spinning to even try to get it out of my mouth. And that's what a panic attack has felt like for me. So I can imagine.
That's my baseline.
Yeah.
That's my baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a study that was done a couple years ago, and they were talking about because ADHD and PTSD get confused with each other a lot, and because there's a lot of overlap. And there's also a type of ADHD that is specifically a trauma response. Like, so there's a type of ADHD you can only have from PTSD, what's the new complex PTSD. So like complex PTSD related ADHD. So there's different ways you can get there and different things like that. But for a person with ADHD, their baseline, what is it? The cortisol. What is your stress hormone?
Cortisol.
Yes, their baseline cortisol levels are the exact same as an undercover police officer.
Damn.
Because that's what it feels like to try and hide what your personality from the world is like.
Yeah.
That level of social anxiety of where if they find out, it feels like I'm gonna die.
What are you hiding?
Just that I'm not like everybody else. Do you know what I mean? That some people there's sometimes things will happen that will set off a kind of like what we were just talking about, the system froze kind of thing, or it's it overheats and will cause an actual panic. And with autism, they call them meltdowns, because it's imagine a panic attack that is somehow also sleep paralysis. It feels like you're disassociated and fully not in control of your own body. You're not in control of your motor functions or anything.
And you're still just in a conversation.
No, this is something happened in a conversation and now I'm melting down, and if anybody sees me like this. So it's a lot of that, to where it's when your social battery runs out and it's okay, I have to get out of here before they something happens and they realize I'm a weirdo, or I do or say the wrong thing, or
It becomes harder to sort all those thoughts out too, to where you just
it becomes hard to pick the exact thread that is causing the anxious feeling, because it's just all a knotted ball of yarn.
And I imagine it gets to a point where you can't figure out what you need.
Yes, that is the toughest part. It's and going back to the autism, ADHD, and that's the downside is there's already that analysis paralysis and the executive dysfunction part of it, where again, similar to sleep paralysis, where I'll know exactly what I need to do, but my brain can't get my body to start the action, or my brain doesn't know the correct order of steps to begin the process in. So I'm just stuck analyzing the process. I know exactly what needs to happen, but I don't know how to organize them in a way to actually begin and then end. So it just never starts.
In those moments where you feel that coming on, or you're in it, is there something you've learned to say where you're I need to be by myself now, or do you just walk away, or what helps? What?
Sometimes I can just walk away. Sometimes, just the good old classic Irish goodbye.
Yeah,
it's just
love it.
Where'd AJ go? Must have left.
So mysterious.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sometimes it's like it happened when I filmed my special in Florida last year. We had a bunch of people in like one Airbnb together, and like after like 2 shows in a night, like after like all of that socializing and peopling, I came back and there were like more people than I could like currently tolerate.
Yeah.
So I just crept upstairs, and like I didn't want to be away from everybody. I just needed like it toned down. So I like left the door open. So if anybody wanted to come up and stuff, like, and I could still hear, but it was over there.
Yes.
I was a part of it, but I was a part of it from over here.
Love
and
that.
that's all I can tolerate right now.
Yes.
But but then even with stuff like that, sometimes it's there's like the guilt around fulfilling your own needs. So it's like, well, they're all here because of me. So I'm not down there. Did they think I'm unhappy or, that kind of stuff? And it's like, well, now, you end up pushing yourself a lot more, and that we're natural people pleasers because we don't want to be, noticed or singled out. And so it's like, hey, if I make people happy, then they won't notice that there's something quote unquote wrong or different. And that leads to a lot of burnout trying to please everyone around you. And
Yeah.
Good for you for being aware of that and choosing yourself when you do.
I wish we could normalize that more, like for everybody.
Yes.
That we can take the space we need and that we just don't have to tolerate things that don't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask, I love your stand up. I love you. You're so funny.
You're so funny. You're like the greatest person in the history of this art form. You're the biggest sweetheart to ever do stand up.
You're an angel.
It's true.
I receive that. I receive it. Do you have people come up to you?
That was cute.
Do you have people come up to you afterwards and say, like, oh my God, thank you so much for talking about this? Oh, is that the best? Yeah.
Oh, so, okay. We just had shows in Dallas and San Antonio, and one of my shows in San Antonio, a woman brought her like 7 or 8 year old autistic son.
Whoa.
And the club was like, hey, just letting you know there's a kid here kind of thing. And I was like, like the whole, but just, she said, do everything normal. Right. I was like, I was like, well, you let her know it's not going to be like a clean show or family friendly. And she's like, no, they both know exactly who you are. And this is exactly what they're here for. And then, so I got to meet them afterwards. And, like I stepped out of the back door to like where we had everything set up for like merch and meet and greets and stuff. And he was just like, they were standing there waiting for me. And he was just, his hands were just like, he was stimming so hard. And I was just like, oh, it was just, I literally just like went over, introduced myself, said hi, like and like he was just in heaven. It was like, and then I was like, I picked this kid up and I yelled at everyone else. I was like, line starts behind him. And like carried him over to where I was doing photos and stuff.
Oh my
and
God,
we
so
had
sweet.
we had this like just super cool conversation. And like, he was like, he was just like, I don't know. There was just like a moment where we were talking, and he's like, "You're shaking," and I was like, "Yeah, I stim, like I flap, my fingers shake and I flap and stuff." And he's like, "You like I do," and I was like, and just I get so many of those like comments, people that are like, my son, my niece, my nephew, me, like I get comments from people that are like, oh, I understand like my kid more now. I understand like.
So nice. That's so wonderful. Oh, it's so sweet.
There's like a weight to it, like I didn't realize that's what I was doing when I started doing it, but I'm normalizing something for people that have a hard time explaining it themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or even
And people that
understanding
don't
it.
know how to explain it to other people see my stuff and they're like, that's me.
Oh,
You're
That
doing
just
good
means
work.
a lot.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. So glad you started it.
I know.
That's so dope.
It's a gift. It really is.
So
I think we've peaked. I don't
It's so funny. Y'all both are like, I don't know what comes next, and I'm just like enjoying all the feels that are happening.
we're like,
I'm gonna be so moisturized.
so what's something you like to do outside of comedy that gives you like happiness feelings?
I've had so many like random hobbies that have done that. And they've just like changed a lot over the course of just years. And my one of my hobbies, I mean, I just recently started getting back into video games again.
Beautiful.
Like kind of, reconnecting with my childhood a little bit. One I used to do like paracord, like weaving kind of stuff and
Oh.
braiding.
Cool.
Yeah, like those little like those survival bracelets and the stuff like the
Yeah.
dudes will wear. And I used to do like leashes and dog harnesses, and I've made like drawstring bags that were completely done up like that, and things like that. I think because of like stimming and stuff like that, I've always liked tasks that like keep my hands busy.
Yeah.
So because then it's like, okay, when my brain's busy, my hands are active. So if my hands are active and like the goal is for my hands to be active, it's almost like I can turn my brain off.
Yeah.
So
Right.
That makes sense.
yeah, so I would literally, I can just like weave and like it would just shut off everything so I could like focus on one thing and just like chill and zone out.
Love it.
So yeah, I used to just like, I'd weave paracord and just watch Parks and Recreation for like hours.
It sounds
and then it's like, okay, I guess we can put our vest back on in the morning at Lowe's. Welcome to Lowe's.
Wow, you're good at that.
Excellent.
Excellent. Before I ask where to plug your socials and stuff, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
Of course, thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
This
Yeah.
is such a cool podcast. And like not a lot of people are doing that, or like being open about mental health stuff. And
Right?
yeah, this
Yeah.
is very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, tell everybody about all the things you want to tell them about. Any subject.
So Nemo's dad was a lady that whole movie, and
Ooh, this is good.
yeah, clownfish transition in nature when the female partner dies, and the man becomes the mom to take care of the babies. So Nemo's dad was a lady for 90% of that movie.
That really needs to be, you need to put that in your set or something.
Oh,
You need to tell more people.
I told all of Texas.
Okay.
They was not happy about it, but they came around.
Tell all of Texas.
They were happy.
No, I put a special out on my YouTube that's like, it's a special, but it's not like a real special. It's like a mixtape. Like I have my full hour special that we were just waiting and waiting and waiting on and editing and stuff like that. And we'd switched cameras for this one show that was just excellent. And I posted like 3 clips from it, and all of them just went like insane viral.
Amazing.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to post one more clip from this. And if this goes viral, I'll just put the whole set out. And it did. So I put that out and everybody loves it. But there's another special coming, and I'm probably going to put it on my YouTube as well, unless like last second somebody just
Picks it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless we get that last second like phone call,
The first
like
one's on
stay of
YouTube?
execution or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Unless that red phone from the governor lights up, dude. The other one's going on my YouTube too.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, the one that's out now, it's like a mixtape special, but it's all one set. But it's I Have a Disorder on my YouTube. It's AJ Wilkerson Comedy, ajwilkerson.com. All my tickets. You can find my YouTube and socials and everything from there.
Beautiful.
So thanks so much for having me. This is a very awesome podcast. And
Thank you.
I feel pretty with the light because you guys have been glowing pink this whole time, and I can see my hands, and I just imagine my face is also glowing pink, and I'm like, I'm a gorgeous bitch right now.
Facts.
Facts.
Thank you for listening to I'm Fine, It's Fine podcast. My name is Amber Autry. I'm a comedian based here in Nashville and internationally touring. You can find me on all platforms at Amber Autry Comedy.
And I am Melanie Reese. I'm a trauma therapist here in Nashville. You can find me across all platforms at Trauma Therapy Nashville.
We really appreciate you listening so much. And if you want to give a little extra for free, make sure you're liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing with your friends, talking about it to literally everyone you see, because it helps so much, and we're so grateful for the extra effort.
And if you like what you're hearing and you want some bonus material, that includes interviews with other practitioners and all the juicy stuff that Amber and I talk about that doesn't go into the normal podcast. We'd love to have you subscribe. You can find the link in our bio, and $5 a month, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.